So today's a special podcast. They're all special, but this one in particular. The Invisible Sensei podcast over the last wee while has been focusing on my recent trips and adventures in the wonderful Ryukyu Kingdom, aka Okinawa. And my last podcast was really talking about return to Okinawa and all these sort of different, I guess, principles around that. And what I thought I would do was recruit one of my dear friends who was one of a couple that were over on Okinawa at the same time. And I kind of dragged him onto the podcast. And we're going to have a little bit of a chat about what his experiences were, his reflections. And obviously, we will talk some, absolute kaka. But that is the nature of friendship. Kia ora, I'm Tuari Dawson, and you're listening to the Invisible Sensei podcast. So Michael Coots is a student of good friend and brother of the podcast, Paul Broomhall Sensei of the Okinawan Karate Jitsu Dojo in Cairns, Australia. And I've been my pleasure to go up there and train a few times with him. Also, PJ and Michel Sensei and Michael came over last year and were part of the very successful KIZUNA Seminar that I was a part of at that time. And brought some fun, brought some energy, brought some life, and Michael and I became sort of instant siblings with all that implies. And we stayed friends. He stayed here. I've gone over and inflicted my presence on his house. I'm going to put a link to the Coots dojo experience in the liners of this, so you can kind of get a sense of about who he is now. He's trained in two styles of karate, having achieved the level of Shodan, and I jokingly call him Michael Coots, 2 times black belt holder. But he's going to talk a little bit about that. I'll draw him out about that. But also, just hey, bro, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to do this, and I'm looking forward to the conversation and your reflections on your time in Okinawa. Welcome to the Invisible Sensei podcast.
Oh, thank you. It's an honor. It's an honor, privilege.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it is. It is. I mean, it's an honor to have me.
Oh, it is. It's a pinch me moment.
No, thank you for doing it, bro. I mean, I have very fond memories of time up in Cairns at the dojo of yourself and Brumi Sensei and sort of all the other cast of characters and mates that we have up there. Brother Rudolph, brother Corey up there, and some beautiful people. Great big, the man, the mountain, the legend, Andrew. So it's kind of like whenever I get an opportunity to go up and spend time with you guys, it's always like connecting, like a family reunion. And it's always really good. Now, bro, you've come back from. We were in Okinawa together. And this was your second time this year, in actual fact, as the year winds down. What took you to Okinawa? What were your impressions? I guess your 2 trips to Okinawa this year, and what were anything that kind of stuck out to you about your experiences?
The first trip was only for 4 days, maybe not even that long. It just wasn't enough. I sort of went over there. I think that perhaps having not researched or not known enough, you almost be forgiven for imagining that Okinawa is a village or it's this sort of fairly small place. But I went over there and was surprised at just how much there was, and it just left me wanting more. I sort of came back and sort of said to friends, I said everything that for me that was in Japan, I felt like it was in Okinawa as well. If you were wanting shops and restaurants, but obviously the karate and the culture and the history just left me wanting more. So it was just such a I think it wasn't just coincidence. I think the fact that you and David were both planning on being there, I went, hey, why don't I go over at the same time? And I'm so glad I did. This time was, what was it? It was close. Let's just say it was close to 3 weeks, and every day was just a winner. I just absolutely loved every part of it. Every part of it. Difficult to pick a favorite, but it was just there was just so many great experiences there. I was sitting there thinking the other day, if I was to pick, I really the morning we went and did Kobudo down on the beach on that Sunday morning, training down there, and a few people from the Asato Dojo went down there. James was there, David was there, and Dan, yes, came down, and it was just a stunning, glorious morning. And here we are, we're doing sai, bow, a whole bunch of different weapons down there, and it just felt so normal. I felt like if we were doing that, if you suddenly just lobbed up at a beach in Australia, but people were just riding past, walking their dogs, and no one seemed to really be fussed. It was just such a good morning. And I mean, we went from if that wasn't enough, we went down and had a bit of a swim in the sea, and there were some funny stories told. And then why don't we go have lunch? And so we went round to the taco place that obviously you and
George's, legendary
James,
George's.
That was and it wasn't quite open, so it was like another 20 minutes till it opened. So James nipped around the corner, just popped into a 10th Dan Okinawan
Matsuda Sensei, yeah.
That was crazy. And he's obviously just said, you're right to have some company. And next minute we're sitting in there having coffee with him. It was just an amazing room, amazing stuff that was on the walls, and just so much fascinating stuff everywhere you look. The big snakes in the sake, and the room was filled with sanchin that he makes, and obviously players, because next minute he was just
serenading us
a song, and they were sitting there on a Sunday morning. It was just like you can see it. Yeah, that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool.
What was your relationship? I mean, obviously you've done karate for a pretty extended period of time. And so, like all people who do Japanese karate, Okinawan karate, whatever the style may be, Okinawa looms very large. What was your relationship with Okinawa prior to that?
Well, the training that we do, like in the club where I am now, is very much looks to old Okinawan style, like I think, but karate where there were ground techniques, there were grapples, it was all in there. It was sort of very much looking towards those masters that we all know and respect, and sort of looking at some of that sort of stuff. So but I've got it from books, and you read about it and learn about it as much as you can. But going to Okinawa is just a whole different thing, like it was just so wonderful. I think just actually sort of see the approach and the attitude of people there in Okinawa, like to them it's just another day training, but I really do love the approach that they have. I mean, particularly Asato Dojo was just such a welcoming dojo, but there's just a continual flow of people coming from all different styles, different skill levels, different countries. It's it's really cool.
Yeah, so you were there with our mutual buddy David Redaway Sensei, himself a very well respected karateka, and so you guys were had managed to get a flat together or get a residence together, so that you could sort of keep costs to a minimum. I think for me, you're talking about the Asato Dojo and talking about training at Namanui Shrine as we were that morning.
Yeah.
So what Michael's referring to was Dan Antonson Sensei, H-Dan Mabukan, who is the loveliest human you're going to meet. He's such a beautiful man, such a devastating martial artist.
Yeah.
Not only in Kobudo but in karate. Was taking us for training on Namanui Beach, and then we just all hopped in the water and had a swim, and it was just this kind of all these sort of incredible sort of situations that we found ourselves. What was your thought going into training at the Asato? I remember you were there early in the year and you were kind of not nervous, but I guess sort of not knowing the ins and outs and the ups and downs. Specifically, what was it like entering the dojo, sort of doing the solo thing?
I think they're a very welcoming dojo. Before I went to Okinawa, and maybe if we went back sort of 3 months, even way before that, you start sort of thinking, I'm going to be awesome at this. I'm going to be super fit. I'm going to be amazing. I'm going to know every kata. I'm going to be able to do every, I want to have at least a great foundation with every weapon. As you got closer and closer, I had to sort of readjust those guys, and so you certainly walk in and a feeling what is it? Just where you, going, do I belong here? What am I doing here? Who am I? But it soon goes away because they're just
No, mate, 100%. I totally agree with you, bro.
yeah.
And that never goes away. I remember kind of, you and me and David and sort of a bunch of our other mates were kind of walking down the street after a good session. And I just remember at one point, we went to that nice Chinese place just down from the
That was
Asato.
later. Yeah.
And James Sensei is always leading the charge. And I just remember we were walking together and I'm going, I can't believe I'm in the company of all these fantastic martial artists.
Yeah.
Like at no point did I kind of feel as though I should sort of, be in their company, but incredibly, I found that I was. You and David went and Anson Sensei was kind enough to invite you to the Meibukan. What was your impression of that experience in terms of going to another dojo, a similar style, but another dojo, and just in general, attending other trainings? I mean, you were training with Andrea Clementisova Sensei, who's an incredible Gorjuru Sensei. There was, training with James, doing Shorin-ryu and a number of other things, especially doing Kobudo and that. How was all that experience for you?
Oh, look, it's just a great learning experience. And I think sort of flowing on from me sort of thinking how you want to be an expert on everything as much or as biz, as well founded as you can when it just sort of goes out the window. We went to Meibukan and we got introduced and it was like, oh, we do Goju. Both David and I do Goju, but it was kind of, yep, cool. And then I was continually looking over my shoulder at what everyone was doing and trying to line myself up with what they were doing because they were doing and it was Goju. It's very recognizable, but it was just little differences. And I was very happy just to actually just to step back and just learn from, in this dojo, this is how they do it. In this dojo, that's how they do it. That's the way to approach it. Everything in it was just, similar, very, as I said, very recognizable, just little differences and stuff like that. Like, for example, in the safer kata, there's a point where we would sort of step to the side. They had a jump in there, and I loved the explanation for it was, and here we are, sort of at the footsteps really of Shuri Castle. Is like there's the steps at Shuri. You need to be able to keep your balance and be able to jump over the steps, or there could be the fallen comrades from battle, and you need to, so I kind of went, okay, cool, it's just, but yeah, there was those little things that sort of, even though you sort of go, yep, I know, so far, all of a sudden you're going, oh, I don't, there's little bits. So that was throughout. Certainly I'm a beginner with Kobudo stuff, so it's just, I learned so much. I really enjoyed all my stuff that with doing that, but it was, it's just so much talent, so much skill, and just felt like an absolute privilege to be there. Yeah.
I know Paul Sensei has spent time in Okinawa training most specifically with Hokama Sensei, and he knows James Sensei quite well and all that sort of stuff. For you, in terms of your karate moving forward, how has it, I don't want to say informed, but how do you feel it's going to influence your karate development in the future, having had that, what was probably going to be the first of many experiences there?
I came back with a new inspiration just to improve my karate. I came back and I sort of felt like maybe people at the dojo might go, oh, what did you learn? Did you learn it was that you not like you've learned some sort of magic? Here's the secret. It's it's not like that. There's nothing, but you just see really, really good quality martial artists, and it just made me want to get better at every aspect of my karate, polish up my kata to actually, with the Kobudo, not just be able to hold it, but to actually bring it alive and not look, and just make it. I just so inspired by watching some of the sensei that I saw, going. It was, and there's a, Yeah, I
Well,
think
that bro,
it's
that night that we were in the dojo together, me, you, and David Sensei, and everyone was warming up, and James just picked up
yeah.
Iku Kata and just blew the weapon out of the water.
Oh,
Right, and we were just
absolutely.
sort of standing there. We're all warming up, and I just thought I'm going to stand as far away from him as possible. I mean, it was just amazing, you know.
It was. Yeah, yeah. And it looked so effortless and comfortable in his hands. Yeah, that's exactly the sort of thing I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's I think it's probably the inspiration of actually just to actually get better, you know.
Mm.
Yeah.
And you know, you and I were having a conversation earlier today, and you know, like sort of about the way in which I mean, you and I are both gentlemen of a certain age. I think we're the same age. I might be. I think I'm a year older than you.
I think I'm quite a bit younger. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you're quite a bit. Yeah, but I mean, in terms of what matters, you're so much younger.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Immature
I
is
mean,
the other word.
you're
Immature.
down with you're down with the young people in a way that I could
Oh
never be.
yes. Oh, yeah.
You know, talking about the way in which we approach training. I mean, my last trip to Okinawa before this year was in 2023.
Yeah.
And it was choice. And I just remember my first day, you know, our bro Josh Simmer Sensei picking me up and parking at the car park just across the road from the Asato to go and say hi to James. And there's Dan Ensign Sensei just
Yeah.
strolling across the car park with an iku on
Yeah.
his shoulder, just having finished some training.
Yeah.
You know, I remember sometimes we'd be at the Asato just kind of hanging out, and then sort of the who's you'd walk in and the who's who of the martial arts universe, of our
Yeah.
karate universe, would actually just be in there, you know, just drop them and say, "Hey, how's it
Yeah.
going?"
But I think it's just that's just another day at the Asato Dojo in Okinawa, isn't it? So, but I mean, we finished training one day with Dan and Dan Sensei, and he sort of said, "Oh, my wife and I are going to visit the Shuri Castle. Did you want to come in?" So David and I just jumped in there with them, and we've gone for he's basically taking us for a tour because he's you
Mm,
know both between him and his wife, incredibly knowledgeable and
mm,
really and so generous to want to you know wanting to share everything they could and everything they
mm,
knew about it. So it was that was just such a great moment. You know, there's things like that as well. You know, I
mm,
mean, he obviously
mm.
took us on a more organized tour, and that was just exceptional as well.
Yeah.
All over the place. Yeah.
Well, you know what's really amazing about you know the people that you meet there, the instructors. You know, I was talking about it in my last podcast about the sort of the collegial sort of atmosphere that kind of tended to permeate every gathering. You know, people weren't so kind of stuck on styles or badges or affiliations or styles.
No.
They were kind of just really into kind of asking, "Hey, where are you from?" You know, it was kind of like just there was a collective sense of excitement. What was your take on that, bro? What did you observe in that regard?
Yeah, absolutely. Just a real willingness to share. It didn't it really doesn't it didn't matter. It was just everyone seemed to be very, very welcome. Everyone, I mean, certainly I mean where we trained the most, the Asato Dojo. Like you said, that night when we went out for the Chinese meal, there's one place I find myself jumping between just having a really good time with people that sort of feel like friends and then every now and then going, oh wow, and then just sort of recognizing who they are and the fact, and we're, you know, like having that sort of stars in your eyes a little bit, you know, like, but you know, it's they're all such humorous. There's some really good senses of humor
Mm,
amongst them. Just a real willingness to laugh and share and just have a really good time. So we had a
mm,
fantastic night. You know, like there's the airs and graces outside of the dojo weren't sort of it was yeah very very relaxed. So
mm.
yeah, and it certainly extends. You know, like the I found that there were so many you just never know who's going to walk through the doors there, do you? You know, like it's a fascinating place.
You have no idea who's going to turn up there, and there's so many times when they're sitting there going, "Oh my god, I think I own this guy's book,"
Yeah,
you know, or you know, like you know, like I mean, people like I mean, for me, you know, having spending some time with like Patrick McCarthy Hunchy,
yeah,
Dan Sensei, and all the KU guys that were there for the seminar. I was there a couple of weeks prior to you, and had a fantastic time. It was just an amazing practitioners
yeah,
going up to the Okinawa Kempo Hombu Dojo up in Nago and training with Yasushi Sensei and most notably Matsuda Sensei.
Yeah.
In a dojo that is kind of older than I am as a person, older than I am.
Yeah.
All those sort of little moments. What did you sense outside of the dojo? Just kind of, I guess, getting out with Masako and Dan Sensei.
Mm.
What did you kind of experience in terms of the culture, or the lay of the land? What were your impressions? I mean, because you're a foodie as well. You're a chef. That was one of your many trades. What was your impressions?
It's absolutely in particular the food I'm talking about now is just absolutely exceptional. Every meal we had there was a winner. It's just it really is. It's so good. I actually talked to a few people because keep talking. When you come back from holidays, you just annoy everyone by talking about them. But I've had a few people that said, "Oh, I don't think I'd like Japan or Okinawa because I don't really like Japanese, or maybe it's like something really sort of cliche, like I don't like sushi or something." And you're going, "Oh wow," they've got. I mean, the the food there is just exceptional, and it's right across. I mean, I reckon I had some of the best hamburgers up there with it in my life. As you said, we went out for tacos, so they do food really, really well. But I mean, I love the local stuff as well. It's my just I missed it as soon as I was back. Just
Yeah.
just being having the availability of just quality restaurants everywhere, and then
Mm.
obviously the scenery of the place. Like one day, David Sensei and I, he had an international license, so we hired a car and we went off adventuring for the day. Went up to the north, and that was just amazing. Yeah, we didn't wreak too much havoc. I noticed it was funny after the trip. I noticed there was a sticker or a plate that was on the back of the car, and I used the Google Translator, and it had a great big writing saying "A foreigner is driving this car." Just
They
I
should
think
have them in New Zealand. They should have them in New Zealand and
they
Australia,
should have it
actually.
everywhere. I mean, it was
Yeah.
like you said at one point you said, "Hey," and then you go, "No, that's a fair call. That's a fair call." That was, I
Mm.
think, it's best everyone knows because there wasn't too much veering across lanes but there was even just some of the roads we actually went down. One road it was one on one of the little islands. I didn't think we were going to get there. I think David had to do like a 36,000 point turn to actually get through to get through it. But that was such an adventure. Yeah, the scenery and the places you can visit. Like
Mm.
I feel like I've only come back and I'm on a few little things on Facebook that tell you things to do in Okinawa. And I'm going, oh,
Yeah.
I didn't do that. I didn't see that. I'm going. So I definitely need to go back.
I can't remember. Did you make it to the dance center take you guys to the Peace Museum?
Yes, absolutely.
What did you, how did you kind of respond to that? For me, that was real food for thought. So I'm interested in your thoughts.
Oh, absolutely. It was intense. They haven't some of the images have not been held back, and nor should they. But it was it's pretty emotional. It's pretty, yeah, like it's just you can sort of hear the numbers, and I think this places like that do their best to actually turn them from just being numbers to making it real.
Mm.
This is something that actually happened because again, it's one of those things that's hard to almost in such a lovely, peaceful, happy. That's the vibe that I certainly get when I'm in Okinawa place. It's amazing the history that it's had, and that does a very good job at communicating some of that because yeah, it's definitely worth a visit. It was intense.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's the Peace Museum is important because I think that, when we talk about karate, especially if you've done it for a while and you're doing an Okinawan style or an Okinawan based style, that they always talk about people will refer to the war and kind of
yeah,
this kind of oblique kind of terms. But I think for me, my hope is that whenever people go to Okinawa and they want to understand not so much about the history of Okinawa, but that there's a powerful narrative around the impact of war, and there's a
yeah,
powerful story of resilience that comes after. I mean, there's a huge, it's thousands of years of history contained within Okinawa. It's not just looking at it from the war perspective, but I think in terms of understanding the development of karate, it's an important aspect as well. The training itself, did you kind of feel? sort of out of your depth. I mean, I know that, I think anyone, myself included, when you're going to these places and you're surrounded by such expertise, did you feel those inadequacies? If you did, how did you deal with them, or it just wasn't a factor?
Um, no, I don't think inadequacy would be too much of a harsh word. I think I didn't feel I didn't I definitely felt there was lots to learn, even just doing the fundamental type stuff. And again, it can be just there's just differences in how you do things. Even when you're doing Kion, can just be the timing and the the way you step. Just different ways of receiving a technique. I know that we were training, we were doing a lot of things where you might want to be on the outside, and it was like a new thing to actually be on the inside, and there was like receiving the technique on the inside. But if you've got a backup plan once you're in there, once you're actually there, you've got a lot in front of you, so you need to have something that you're planning on doing with it. But it's so there's, I guess what my point there is just that different, there's different ways of moving in different ways, and you can have that when you go to a new dojo or that type thing. You can have, I'm just going to call it muscle memory, but you can get stuck in the way that you do things, and actually sort of resetting your brain. It can be a healthy bit of that going on, but as I said, very generous sensei seemed to be abound in Okinawa. So yeah, I didn't sort of feel any point someone was going to yell at me and shout at me and tell me to get off the floor, head out in disgrace or anything.
Well, I mean, having said that, that's kind of what I did behind your back.
Yeah. I mean,
And rolling my eyes when you do things, saying, "I wish that guy would just get off the floor," you know. But we
if you roll
persevered
your
with
eyes
you.
more quietly, it would be
Yeah, I was like, just going like this, just going
oh god,
all the time. So here's a question:
Mm.
What, I don't want to say stereotypes because that's too strong a term. What, if any, preconceptions did you have going to Okinawa that kind of fell by the wayside after having experienced for a period of time, especially around training?
Oh, that's a tricky question. Yeah, I don't know. I perhaps haven't trained in enough dojos in Okinawa to make any sort of sweeping judgment. As I said, I think Asato in particular was very, very generous, very open. Because I guess I was sort of, perhaps maybe the first time I went, I was maybe expecting that very, very strict dojo. And I haven't really experienced that.
Is that because of your formative training and some? I mean, and this is not to bag anyone. I mean, is that kind of coming out of your own training experience, your formative training
perhaps
karate experience?
perhaps it is. Perhaps it is. Yeah. There was certainly the first dojo, Matsumoto Dojo. Certainly, when it came to things like gradings, you could cut the tension with a knife. It was absolutely. There was just a very, very tense, anxious type feeling, and it was quite strict. And you have this. You almost have this constant sense that you're not doing something right or not doing it well enough. I didn't really have that feeling at all training in Okinawa. But yeah, as I said, it's not like I've widely trained in all the dojos. So perhaps it's something there. How about yourself? Do you have you got any? Well, you've been there a few times, but from the very first times.
I think because I started going when I was quite young.
Yeah.
To now being in my 50s.
Yep.
I think because I've changed as a person, my priorities have changed as a person as well.
Mm-hmm.
And like bro, you and I both know, I'm sort of still in recovery from a heart attack. So I have to. What has changed is I have. I don't think Okinawa has changed,
No.
but the way in which I approach Okinawa has, because I'm not going out there and doing 8 hours of training anymore. My body just won't handle it. I mean, 2.5, 3 hours training is about all I can do in a single sort of sitting.
Yep.
And for me, what was cool was having good friends like yourself and a couple of others over there who could see that I was trying to push too hard and sort
Yeah.
of saying, "Hey, don't be a dick. You've
Yeah.
had a heart attack. Take it easy." And I mean, there's nothing like like a 10th Dan master yelling at you in English and in Japanese to sit there down, because we just, I remember Hunch McCarthy just saying, we were doing this, we were up at the KU seminar, Josh and I, and we were participating, and we were doing this thing where he had us doing once, and so you pick someone up and just run around the dojo with them on the back, those old school those good drills,
Yeah. It's good fun. Yep.
and I picked some guy up who was probably quite close to my own size, who couldn't actually pick me up, strangely. Anyway, we're running around the dojo, and I just remember Hunch McCarthy going, "Oi! Two, put him down," and then sort of
Yeah.
he's just going, "Hey man, we're trying to, we're doing it for your own good, man. Just don't, they're going,
Yeah.
hey, yes sensei,
Yep.
yes sensei,
No.
yes Hunchi," and so yeah, for me, I think the thing which has changed is, I mean, what I'm looking for when I have that experience, and you and I have talked about this, is probably a little different.
Yeah.
When I was first going there, I wanted to train hard and I wanted to emulate certain people. I guess I'm not looking so much for specific a specific destination, rather than specific directions to my
Yeah.
own destination, if that makes any sense.
It certainly does. And I feel like they were very accommodating with that. Like in a
Mm,
couple of the classes all of the classes we went to, again, there's a real cross section of people and ages. I noticed um, instructors going, now, if you've got problems with your knees, as many of us do, you can do this technique like this, you can do it like that, like this is how you can do it. If you and there's young, what are they, 17, yeah, younger than that, super fit, super flexible.
mm,
This is how you should be doing it, or this is how you
mm.
can do it. So, and that's all in the same class. It's just that sort of catering for the different different ages and
Yeah,
different body types. Like
yeah.
I think Andrea Sensei started all her ones sort of saying, if you've got an injury, like
Mm,
please don't push yourself into this. So yeah, and again, I get, maybe I had this, going back to what you said, that cliche thing that you're going to be in there and
mm.
everyone's having to do 50, 100 push-ups off your knuckles, and yeah,
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah, the training was still really robust. I mean,
oh,
you take
definitely.
people like, like, I mean, like Dan Anson Sensei. I mean, that guy is an absolute machine.
Oh,
Whether he's got a weapon or not, but he's
yeah,
still so
just the
Canadian.
arms. Yeah.
He's also from Canada, and he's just the nicest, easygoing guy,
Oh, absolutely.
who could probably, kill you with the flick of a finger. Like, I mean, it's the thing which I always enjoy, and probably you noticed as well, bro, was kind of the juxtaposition of people's personalities. I mean, they're absolutely, absolute weapons
Yes.
physically, but absolute sweethearts personally.
Kind as the day is long. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
When we went out to that dinner you were referring to, I was sort of sitting there and going, "There's me and you and Tawa," and we're all sort of sitting there going, we're all kind of going, what's going on right now?
I know.
Hey guys, and incidentally, while we're talking about this stuff, I will post a link to my YouTube channel, the Invisible Sensei YouTube channel, so you can see some holiday pics from what Michael and I are talking about. I've got a few pictures of what we're talking about, and maybe a little bit of footage as well. One of my favorite memories, bro, was us going up to the Kaikan,
Yes.
and myself, myself, David Sensei, you,
Yeah.
myself, and Tawa
Mm.
Sensei going up there and just kind of basically having the kind of space that can accommodate an ego my size, for the first time.
Absolutely.
How
Yeah.
was that for you, the Kaikan, and then going to the museum and all that?
It was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. I love that. I think you should post the photo of us that we took of our stuff standing in the middle of it, and we've got our entry thing around us, but it looks so much like we've won something. We're both sort of just the embrace and the glory that's on our
Yeah.
face, the lights shining through the car guard onto our faces, and it looks like we've just we've just won. We've just won. I'm not
I
sure what.
mean, some would say the gift of friendship. We
Yeah.
won the gift of friendship, you know.
If this makes the podcast, cut that bit out. Don't actually say that we didn't win anything. Just let
Yeah,
people
yeah.
let people assume that we
I
won.
mean,
We were winners on the day.
it was so funny. We did a little bit of a post and things like that for our mates and friends and dojo back home and all the rest of that. But it was really funny because I remember looking at those photos and go, yeah, it looks like we're standing on a podium somewhere being applauded. And I think in our mind, maybe we were.
Yeah, I feel we were winners on the day for sure.
Yeah, I think karate was the winner on the day, or the losers, depending. Yeah, there was a lot of opportunities to train with lots of different people. What kind of were there sort of some aha moments for you with some of the people, the training partners many training partners that you had and sensei that you were exposed to?
I definitely the most would have been with the Kobudo. I feel like there's difference because I've had very little exposure to it really. In my a lot of it's just been through my own interest, and those types of things. So you sort of I've learned katas from you and from videos and things like that. So to actually then be with really really knowledgeable sensei about it, it made a big difference there. Just there's even those things about why are you doing this, why are you doing that, it was again at the Asato Dojo, very good sensei, so we actually start using the weapon and it's going, if you leave that gap in there, the bow comes in here and we're going to lever it out, and you sort of go, oh yeah, and you start to become, that sort of brings it alive a little bit when you actually start. It becomes real. You're not just holding a bow and going through the motions. You actually start bringing it to life in the fact that you need to be able to create this sort of reinforcement, or use your hips to hold it and have better holding of the weapon and all those types of things. I think that was the main stuff. But we did a heap of different weapons. I've never used Teki. Teki, am I saying that right?
Yeah,
Teko. Yes, I'd never used those before at all. So that was.
I mean, some would say I've stood behind a few of your punches. I'd almost say you don't need them. Being hit by Michael Coots is like being hit with a tickle with razor blades and explosive devices attached.
Hey, yeah.
Shaped. I mean, I don't want to say so much that receiving a punch from Michael Coots is like it's more like a shaped charge because the energy just blows you back. The magic that is you.
I've noticed. Yeah.
So we've talked about cuisine, we've talked about training, we've talked about I guess the overalls. So what would you be your thought? I mean, people who might be listening to this who haven't been to Okinawa. I mean, I'm a big believer. I don't believe that you have to go to Okinawa to fully embrace the training, but what is the add, the value add by going to Okinawa in to your mind?
Wow. It just brings it home. I think for someone like myself, where you've seen these, you can watch videos. I'm sure we all end up getting similar algorithms with our Facebook and those types of things. It's just another thing to actually be there and actually be on the ground. And I found myself, I know I've said it a few times, but just almost like pinch me moments where you actually start to I guess the known history of some of these places, some of these castles, like you can just let your imagination go with you and go, what have these walls seen? Who's stood in this exact place? Who stood on this soil? You sort of on these beaches and go, who's walked on these same beaches? It's kind of those types of feelings. I think is just something that it does. I mean, on the flip side of that, I mean, I know this is not necessarily your listening demographic, but you could go to Okinawa if you had no interest in karate or martial arts whatsoever. It's like, what? That's crazy. But you really, I mean, you could
have a wonderful time.
You could not go to a single dojo and absolutely put it on your destination list. The sites, the restaurants. As I said, I actually found the shopping. For me, I found the shopping more interesting in in Okinawa than I did in other parts of mainland, like in Japan. And perhaps because I'm not so much into the name brand T-shirt and all those things. Whereas I found some stuff that was a bit more organic or a bit more, I needed an Orient T-shirt.
Yeah.
And you can find them. There's a few of the shops have them there,
Yeah.
like if you look carefully.
It is funny walking, you've been to spend time in Okinawa if you've got to wear the obligatory Orient beer T-shirt, and it's funny because you can't walk 2 meters without someone. I'm sure that when people buy the Orient T-shirt, they're kind of like, "This is an original idea," and
I
then
don't know
to
when
wear
I don't
it
know when
2 minutes after you bought it.
Sorry to interrupt you. I was going to say, I don't know when you're going to post this, but I don't want to ruin a few of some of my friends and family's Christmas gift this year.
Orient T-shirts.
The Orient T-shirt. Yeah.
Yeah.
They come in pink. They come in black. They come in every. Yeah,
Some
there's
beautiful stuff.
there's a T-shirt for everyone. Yeah. No, but I actually, in all seriousness, the shopping and I mean the serious shopping as well, the fish markets and just some of the really, really cool experiences that again you could go and find that in Tokyo, but it's also right there in Naha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now speaking of Naha, we're having a little bit of Naha magic. Join us up in Queensland, up in Cairns, beautiful Cairns, where you reside in Australia.
Yes.
In May of 2026, are we not?
This is true. This is true. I can't wait. Yeah.
Yeah.
At the moment, it's all about Father Christmas coming, but I think once the Christmas tree is away, 2026 is going to be about KIZUNA.
Yeah. So the KIZUNA Seminar is having on the 23rd and 24th of May, 2026. I'll put a link to what we're talking about to the actual seminar. We've got some incredible people coming down to the seminar. It's been hosted by Michael Sensei, Paul Broomhall Sensei. He's the host for this incredible KIZUNA seminar. Now, KIZUNA is a reference to the idea that many strands make a stronger rope, and the more unity they have, irrespective of which direction they're coming from, it just strengthens the whole. What is it? It's the collective is stronger than the sum of its parts. So it's a really interesting concept, a very Okinawan concept. We've got Tamaki Shihan of Motoburu, who is a master with the weaponry, empty hand. I don't know too much about Motoburu, but what I have seen and my exposure to it, although limited, I'm extremely excited about the opportunity for it to be happening outside of Japan. We've got Tamashiro Sensei, who's a Shorin-ryu Sensei, and his Kobudo is top level as well. One of the fittest, most flexible, most relaxed martial artists that I've seen. What was your experience of him, bro?
Absolutely. Yeah. He holds a weapon, just looks so comfortable, so effective. Yeah. Inspiration. Yeah.
Yeah. And just the funniest, and he's got an absolute incredible sense of humor. He's a real prankster. We've got Andrea Klementisova Sensei from Slovakia originally, who resides, works in Okinawa and teaches at the teaches Goju, teaches and studies Goju Karate at the Asato Dojo. Now, she's a world champion in kata, incredible Kobudo, incredible Karateka, been doing karate since she was a kid. And the worst part of her character is that, to be honest, the thing which I dislike the most is her absolute humility and just such an absolutely lovely person to boot, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's quite annoying. She also she fluently just jumps between multiple languages, can easily be speaking Japanese and then jump to English and then across to say
Slovakian, and she's amazing.
Yeah, it's that sort of stuff that it is quite annoying. No, she is an absolute
and she is just such a lovely, super knowledgeable martial artist. Hard trainer, but absolutely just a lovely, lovely person.
Absolute talent. Yeah, absolutely.
And we've got Dan Ansonson Sensei, who I've had him on the podcast a while back. He was the only Westerner ever invited to demonstrate karate before the Emperor of Japan, and this happened earlier this year, and it was quite an amazing feat. He's deliberately very kind of quiet about this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's an absolute machine, an absolute sweetheart of a person, and his lovely wife Masako. They're just such a lovely couple.
They really are. Yeah.
You know, he's actually really scary. Remember that morning we were doing Kobudo with him, and he
Yeah.
was just casually going for this cut, and I'm going, oh my god, you
Yes.
know, he'd kill you with his hands, and then he'd bisect you with his Kobudo, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolute
Um,
gentleman. Yeah.
and then we've got, of course, James Pankovic Sensei, Shorinru, Matsubashi Shorinru under Arakaki Yoshimitsu Sensei. Just an incredible martial artist. Don't let him hear this, though. We don't want him to know
No,
that, you know.
no. Best he doesn't. Yeah. Yeah.
You know. And you know he's created the Asato Dojo, and he coined a phrase a while back in one of his many YouTube appearances or documentary appearances, and he said, you know, it was in reference to his then dojo bar, and he called it a place for beginning adventures. And I think
Nice.
that this is probably apt description of what he has created in the Asato Dojo. You never knew he was going to turn up, and his karate, his kobudo, and just him as a person,
Through the
um,
roof. Yeah.
just ruthlessly cool,
Yes.
ruthlessly nice, just such lovely, lovely people, you know.
Yeah.
You know. And then we've got some random guy uh, from New Zealand who's turning up as well. I don't know. I can't speak. I can't attest to his character.
Yeah.
I think they're including him sort of out of courtesy, really, because you know he would just cry. What do we know about this guy?
He tells some interesting stories. I remember when we were on the training on the beach. What is it, Namanui?
Namanui Shrine, yeah.
We had been training. We're in the water. He told us a story about how a man died from something falling on him while he was doing sanchen under a waterfall.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it's probably too much for here, but
yeah,
it's a story.
Interesting. If you come to Kizuna, you will hear the full story.
Yeah,
but it was like one of those things where it's such dark humor, but it's absolutely true.
It was epic.
That's right. I forgot about that. But yeah, like obviously we're referring to me, so I'm going to be coming as well. I'm not a part of the Asato Dojo roster. I mean, that you know, there's a whole vetting process you've got to go to do that, and I would never make it. But I'm going to be doing some stuff around Tencho and Dandori and how to incorporate into sparring and kake and all those good things. But just having a look at the lineup, who we've got and what they're going to be teaching, it's going to be amazing. And then, of course, we've got Paul Sensei, who's going to be leading a fantastic session on the Friday night before. And we may call upon his services, his incredible talent during the seminar to take some breakout groups. So just all in all, it's going to be a fantastic thing. We're going to be out, I think we're all arriving the week of, so we're going to be out and about in Cairns, beautiful Cairns. I think the things that our Okinawan contingent are very happy about is that it's not going to be a drop in temperature for them.
No, it won't be a spot at all. It'll be lovely and tropical and warm. Perfect for doing sanchen under a waterfall. But now the lineup is exceptional. It really when you see it all on the poster all together, it is absolutely like. I think I said to you, if this was happening in New York, in Dubai, anywhere, this would be absolutely astonishing lineup. But to be having it in Cairns, I'm just absolutely blown away. Like to have it in Australia, to have it in Cairns, in a regional area. But as I said, there's going to be antics before and after. So I hope that people come and maybe put a holiday on the front of it or on the back.
Yeah.
And go and see some of the stuff that's around this region because there's plenty of fun things to do. And obviously put the seminar front and center in it. But it's going to be. I'm really looking forward to it.
And I think you're going to find if you take the time to come up, if you can come up early, we're going to be there for the week. And look, having been hosted by Brumi Sensei and yourself, and just a general, Misha Sensei and Andrew and Corey and all the Okinawan Karate Jitsu fans, all awesome people, and just such an amazing part of the world. And I'm just looking forward to being there as part of the contingent to just experience it again. And look, mate. The thing is also too, you've done an incredible amount of the legwork on this. You've kind of been in there. I mean, going to Okinawa and actually spending time training with these guys, training under these guys, and actually, extending the wonderful hand of Australian friendship. We bag each other as Anzacs, but like we can't underestimate the fact that you went there and actually created some really good friendships. And they forgave you the fact that you were my friend. They seem
Yeah.
to overlook that pretty much, that disadvantage. But yeah, bro. I mean, it was really cool. I'm really excited about it. When we were at dinner, I'm looking around and going, we're all here and we're about to do this thing in Australia. And I think I'm hoping that Kizuna International will become something which becomes a regular event. What better place to have it, you know, than Cairns, you know?
Yeah. Conveniently located.
Mm, yeah. I mean, also too, don't forget the Coots and Dojo retreat. Now, as I say, I'm going to put links to all of the stuff that me and Michael have been talking about on the podcast. So do check out the links. The link to there's a lovely video of our dear brother in arms, David Redaway Sensei, training with Michael at the Coots retreat, which is actually Michael's private dojo at the back of his house. Beautiful space and place. There's going to be a link to enroll for this for the KIZUNA seminar and some other bits and pieces. Please do your best to check that out, and if you can share it, that'd be really cool. Hey, bro. So I'm going to give you the final word. Um, we've talked about whether people should go to Okinawa. We've touched on whether they need to. We've talked about Okinawa. We talked about this seminar. In terms of your training, in terms of where you want to go to in 2026, in terms of what your goals are, um, what's going to be your focus coming into the new year?
That's a tough one. It's a tough one. I have trouble narrowing it down.
Mm,
I'm staying on one thing. As you know, I'm learning. There's a couple of kata that I'm in the process of learning, but also just really wanting. I've been really enjoying the Kobudo style of
mm,
things. Yeah,
mm. Yeah, I mean, just I think the fact that I've been watching you, pick up sepai as a kata, and sort of do some work on that has been really impressive. And just I guess your general openness, man, and um, I'm looking forward to spending time with you. Hopefully, you'll be coming down to New Zealand at some point to spend some more time with us.
absolutely.
It's your turn on the roster actually to come down. But hey, bro, thank you for taking time to be on the podcast.
Well,
Short and
thank you.
sharp, but it was awesome to kind of share that experience with you and sort of see people experience you as well. Because I think I've often said, I think that you should be that the Kizuna seminar is happening because of your relationship and the goodwill that you created up in Okinawa by having the foresight also to take a lovely, beautiful illustrated book as a gift for everyone, be able to see what Cairns is, and Cairns is such a delightful, beautiful, mystical, kind of intriguing place. And I'm sort of certainly a massive fan of it. And thanks for all the work that you've done and doing, bro. And mate, take some time and come back on the podcast. Okay.
Right.
Okay. So
Thank
we
you.
can
Thank you.
talk about that waterfall story in
I
greater
think
depth.
I think we need to unpack it. Fact check it.
Let's not be. What is one of your favorite? One of my favorite Australians said. Mr. Chopper Reed said, "Don't let the facts get in the way of a. Go
Good
get the
story.
let the truth get in the way of a good story."
It was a great story.
Yeah, bro. Hey, thanks for being on the
Thank
podcast,
you.
brother.
No, it's been an absolute honor. Thank you.